Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, have you ever Googled your industry and your company doesn't come up, and worse, your competitor comes up right on top? We'll learn from a SEO guru next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Let's face it, Google is kind of a monopoly. There are other search engines, obviously Chrome and Yahoo, but one of the reasons why Google is on top is because they are paying attention to detail. When you Google best steakhouse in Fort Worth, Denny's does not come up for a reason. To talk about that today, Michael Magnus, he is the owner and senior SEO manager at Magnus Opus. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, tell us more about your company and your journey.
So our company focuses on search engine optimization. So that, as you said, kind of has to do with what comes up when people are searching for your local industry. And so whether that's roof repair or whether that's free patterns or whatever your industry happens to be, what is it that's coming up in the space that you wish you were in? Because a lot of that traffic equates to dollars, particularly in insurance and real estate and all of these companies where leads are so vitally essential. The people who have the number one spot are getting a lot of, I hate to say, it's earned, but they worked to get to the spot where they're getting that traffic. That's free traffic.
Sure.
And so we work with a lot of brands on helping them get higher in those rankings, but we have a little bit of a non-traditional approach. Our team comes from more of a communications and PR background, and so we are very clear in how we communicate things. There is technical pieces to it, but we really kind of break it down and work with people so that they understand what's happening and why it's happening and have some transparency as to kind of where we are in that process, and even combining it with things that they already have going on, to kind of say, okay, how do we amplify the value of your existing efforts?
Sure. And you actually have a teaching background.
I do. I've kind of had this interesting journey to get to where I am. I worked in theater and film, actually originally for about 10 years, and did art department, traveled all over the world, had a great run of it, and then eventually kind of settled down, got into doing some nonprofit development, which led me into eventually doing some social media management for an international brand. And then I taught college for 5 years, and now I do SEO full time. And this, for a while, kind of felt a little disjointed, but as I kind of look back at it, the through line to all of it is impactful storytelling. And that's very obvious in the film piece when you're doing nonprofit, that you really have to explain to people what the value that you're offering is, so they want to make contributions. Same with social media. And even in teaching, a lot of it is about finding that connection with students so that they not only understand, but can also appreciate the information being shared with them. And the biggest difference now is that with search engine optimization, we still do a lot of stuff that's very story driven, earning media, helping write content, things like that, but it's a little bit more data driven. So we kind of have a foundation of research and are able to pull what words to use based on spreadsheets and analytics to craft a message that's still fundamentally for people, but makes the robots happy too, so they can
Sure.
kind of, again, multiply the efforts of what you're already doing.
We're going to put up on the screen your list of services, and you have a wide range of services on SEO, and one that caught my eye was an SEO audit. Explain what that means.
So SEO is often kind of offered as this big amorphous thing. It's sometimes made scary intentionally because it can fundamentally be somewhat complex, but really not every company needs everything. And so we work a lot with kind of saying, okay, are you a local business? Well, then you probably don't need to rank globally for X, Y, and Z. We maybe need to focus more on your Google Maps, because that's really where people are finding your restaurant or things like that. So we break it down in a lot of our services to kind of identifying the specifics of what's really going to have a financial impact and return on investment for the clients. And almost all of that starts with an audit, which has to do with where are you right now, not only with your business, but in your industry. What are your competitors doing to be successful? What can we learn from that? Are there things that we can do similarly? Are there things that we can pivot and do differently to find success? So when we work with clients, we kind of have two different types of clients we work with. One is we work directly with businesses, but we also do a lot of work with other agencies. And so the audit, for some, is the place that we start. For some, the audit is the place that we end. We say, okay, we've done the research. Let us kind of explain to you what this means and coach you through what to do with it next. Okay, you guys take it from here. So obviously there's different levels of services, and we want to always educate people as to what to do with that information, whether we're doing it or whether they're doing it. But the audit kind of fundamentally comes down to making sure that we have an informed idea of what's happening and why it's happening and how we can move forward and having that impact that people are looking for.
Sure. And we're going to put up on the screen some of your clients. You have a wide range of industries that you work in. Do you have a favorite industry?
I've done a lot of work in the leather industry, which is kind of an odd one, but I think it's really interesting as far as a material. I've done some leather working myself, and so being able to work with those clients that either provide leather working materials, or they make finished leather goods, or even they do leather education, like they teach how to do leather working. I think anytime you work with clients that you have a shared passion for, it just becomes easier to kind of get on board and get on the same page, and because you have that shared fire. And so that is one that I have a personal industry interest with, and it's an industry that I'm fairly familiar with. And so we do have a number of clients that we work with and have worked with that are specifically in the kind of the leathercraft industry, which seems niche, but it's actually bigger than you would think.
Yeah. So you were talking before the show about a roofing company that you helped. Tell us that story.
Oh, well, we're still doing some work with them. They're great people. We really enjoy them. But it was kind of an interesting challenge when we got introduced to them, because roofing is one of those things that is pretty hyper local, right? It's a local business, and it's very competitive. And in that industry, there's people who kind of start a business and they start doing roofing today. So being able to say, okay, what can we do to make sure that your message is out there about you've been around there for 50 years, you're veteran led, all of these different, pieces that, how do we tell your story and make sure that it's being seen? And so we initially kind of helped them update their local listings, and then worked with them on putting more deliberate keywords on their website to make sure that we kind of showed them this is what people are looking for, and kind of getting that plugged in their site. And we did some Google ads for them. I mean, one of the things that is a challenge about SEO sometimes is that it really takes 6 to 12 months to get the impact that people are hoping for, which that's a lot of trust to just say, here's my money for 6 months. I'm not really looking for anything. And so we know that the way that we kind of do business is we say, okay, this is what we're after. We're going to take a piece of your budget so that you have tangible results right now, and kind of work with them towards that longer term earned traffic. But it's been going really well for them. And talking to them the other day, they said a lot of their traffic, when they get calls, they ask people, well, how'd you hear about us? And a lot of them right now are saying, oh, we found you on Google.
Yes.
And that's a combination of efforts. That's their website, that's their local listing, that's ads, that's services paid, that's all kinds of different things that are a sum total. It's not any one effort, it's a combined effort. But Google is the number one search thing on Bing,
right,
is Google. And so people are looking for that as the place to go to find information and It's been really good for them, and it's been good for us. It's been a good relationship.
And it's important to hire an SEO firm that knows what they're doing and stays current, because I'm told that Google makes changes in the middle of the night, and it's not like they send out a press release. They just change it so they won't be tricked. And your SEO firm really has to kind of stay in there and know what Google is rewarding and what they're punishing.
Absolutely. And I think with that, they do make some announcements. Sometimes you got to trust what they say. Sometimes you got to keep in mind that they are a business and they are an advertising entity, and so they want you to buy the ads. That's kind of their revenue. They're one of their largest revenue platforms, and so as an SEO, you kind of not only have to keep up on what they're saying, but really look at what it does, because those don't always match up as to what's actually kind of having impact. But the thing that we found is that if you do, there's some core principles to helping your website rank that if you put in the work and do it right, the changes don't really have a huge impact. The biggest places that people suffer they've tried to find a way to trick the system. Google figured it out. They eliminated that loophole. All of a sudden, didn't work anymore. But some of the key principles of just having information structured well and having the right words on the page and earning quality links, those things, it doesn't matter how Google changes the algorithm, knock on wood, those are going to be kind of tried and true methods for helping companies really kind of stay on top.
Outstanding. You really do have the heart of a teacher. Thanks for educating us today. We're going to end with your website, which is magnusopus.com. Michael Magnus, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.